we had 3 actual scholars that got in an accident this morning. Unfortunately, we lost 1 scholar today. So I want you to pray for all the families of this terrible accident today. But if we could just give a moment of silence for the young lady who passed today. Thank you. Thank you. Next on our board agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. If you could stand and face the flag, recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Next on our board agenda is the approval of the agenda for June 11, 2018 work session. Board members, have you had a chance to review tonight's board agenda? Is there any questions or any additions to this agenda that you would like to add or correct? Superintendent Jolly, have you reviewed the agenda for tonight?
Yes, sir.
Is there any changes, corrections to this agenda?
No, sir.
Treasurer Dr. Rock, have you reviewed this agenda for tonight?
Yes.
Just want to make sure the district has the appropriate funds for any items on this agenda.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
No voting.
Okay. At this time, I would need a motion for the approval of the agenda. Board, can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve item 1.3, the agenda for the June 11, 2018 working session board meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Gator. Any discussion on this agenda tonight, Board? Treasurer Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator?
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin? Yes. Mrs. Elba?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Next on our board agenda is public participation. There was a card outside. If you would like to participate in the public participation, you can give our treasurer the card. Just fill it out with your name, address. Dr. Rock, do you have any public participation cards?
No.
Thank you. Next on our board agenda is the treasurer's budget and finance review. Dr. Rock, could you tell this board some of the items that we should look forward to and what's coming in the near future? The floor is yours.
I prepared a very brief list and an update. Can you pull it up, please, Jonathan? Thank you, Jonathan. So we are in the year-end close process. That's every June. Our school district runs on the fiscal calendar, which is from July 1st to June 30th. At this process includes Treasurer's Office looking at all 49 funds of the district, and we're going to review those for actual receipts, actual expenditures throughout the year, and adjust to that. Open purchase orders are reviewed and closed if not applicable. What we're projecting is just the last 5 days of the school year, because we'll have numbers up till the last board meeting, and then there's that little sliver of time. That's what we try to push the board meeting out as close to June 30th as possible, so that projections for the remaining days of the year. And then the end product of this will be the final amended appropriations and certificate of resources, which will be on the board agenda for the 25th. The year-end operating transfers and advances will be on there. Temporary appropriations for the new school year will be on there. And what that does is that establishes our spending budget until we get the permanent appropriations, which are due September 30th. So you have a few months of temporary appropriations. And then that all gets turned into the county auditor budget commission. Another thing that's going to be on the agenda is UBS Financial Services. I'm recommending that we open up an account with them. They do public finance and bond underwriting. They can assist us with our CDs the CDs that we are holding as they mature. They could help us reinvest those. So we would have 2 accounts. We'd have Fifth Third and UBS Financial Services, and I would propose moving out of the Huntington one. And they could get us replacement CDs, agencies, government bonds. And then most importantly, by having that account set up, we'll have them set up for when we need bond underwriters for Phase 2, because Phase 2 is going to require 2 bond underwriters. We're going to need a bond underwriter for the traditional bond, and we're going to need a bond underwriter for the COPS deal. And it's advantageous to use 2 different companies because the deal is too big. And each deal is very different. We've learned that. And then also on the agenda will be a workers' compensation retro program. This has an annual cost of about $10,000, but it gets us refunds. This is like a group rating program. And unfortunately, the district has no other options for group rating. Group rating is where you group up with other similar entities and you save on the premiums. So this is a retro program. So what this does is by us getting into it, we group up, and then based on utilization, if we have good utilization, we'll get a refund back. Everybody in the group gets refunds back. So this one's, the projected refund is $54,000. So that'll be on the agenda also. And then we'll have the insurance renewal. Dave Boyer and myself, we were looking through and we're reviewing 3 quotes. So we'll be bringing the best one to the board meeting. Super purchase orders, this is another thing that we wanted to get to where we're starting approving these before the new school year starts. So this will be the first list of various departments of super purchase orders for next year. And that starts the spending for the new school year. And then also, Phase 1, the new pre-K to 5 building will have the GPD group, our architects, the contract's ready now, so it's in review, but it needs to be board approved for the OFCC. And then the board service fund was requested, so I will pass that out. And that was it. I just wanted to give you a feel for what's coming up, because it's a busy month, so there's quite a few topics that'll be on the agenda June 30th.
Or do you have any questions for Treasurer Rock on any of those projected items that will be coming down the pipeline for this board to approve? Any questions? I do have a couple for you, Dr. Rock. With the UBS Financial Services,
Yes.
have we decided if they're going to handle the first part or the second part of that Phase 2 project, that levy bond? Or
That we didn't decide yet, but it's still advantageous to have 2 underwriters.
Okay.
And we should utilize Fifth Third again, because they have all of our stuff.
Okay. And also on the workers' comp retro program,
Yes.
you said it's in a group?
Yes, it's a renewal. We've been in that group.
Okay, that's what I
So
thought.
we're renewing our membership in that group. This year so far, we've received $37,000 of refund from them, so it pays for itself.
Okay. And then insurance renewal, you're thinking about looking at another company, you said?
Yes, we figured we were getting we're gonna get 3 quotes from 3 different companies.
Okay.
This way, it'll make sure that we're getting a good price, instead of just renewing with the same company.
Okay, I'm good. Board Member Elba?
So, Dr. Rock, have you had the opportunity, I know with the fiscal year ending and a new one starting, to review budget for next year? Because I'm still concerned with Title I. Now, the conversations that I've been having is, if they cut it, it's not gonna be by that much. So, I don't know if you've heard anything, but have you, and if you have, what is the percentage that you've heard that they're cutting?
They haven't told us anything on the allocations yet for the new year.
Okay.
So we're just currently on this year, spending in there. And remember, again, that's restricted spending, so you can only spend in certain areas and certain
No, I
allocations.
understand that, because my concern still is, once again, is the parent liaisons, and their funding comes out of Title I. So my question for you, in addition to that, because there's a need for additional hours, is there a way, whatever the grant says, that it can come out of Title I and Title II, or Title I and General Fund, or is it strictly Title I? And if that's not the case, then some of the salaries that are coming out of there, can they come out of something else as well?
Yes, they could always come out of general fund.
Okay.
You always, and we have room in there. It would just be a matter of coming up with the staffing needs and what the direction is of that program.
Thank you.
Board, is there any other questions for Treasurer Dr. Rock on those items that we will be probably addressing on the 25th meeting? Ms. Muehlman? Vice President Mitchell?
No, thank you.
Board Member Gator? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rock, I appreciate that. Next on our board agenda is the 2020 strategic plan about facilities. Superintendent Jolly?
I have a brief report today. We met with the team, with the architects, the construction team, and the lead certification to go over lead certification for the building. Lead certification is utilizing natural resources and making the building more economical. Today we went through the process. We went through probably, I would say, Mr. Boyer and Rock were there, probably about 60 different areas or more.
Probably more.
It was probably more than 60. But the final conclusion is that our building would be close to being a silver and close to being a gold building. Silver is the second highest rating. I mean, it's the third highest rating. Gold is the second highest rating, with platinum being the highest. I think we have 56 points today. 60 points will get you to a gold building, which means it'll be almost one of the most efficient buildings there is. There's about a couple of them that the architects and construction team will look at to see if they can get us to become a gold building. Have anything you want to add, Dr. Rock?
No, it's all energy savings. So when we get that rating, there will be some metrics we could put behind that. And hopefully it will help it will help our general operating budget.
Yeah, there's some certain savings the building has to have, like water reduction, energy reduction, and those are all things like using natural light and utilizing the landscape for different things. Those are things that was discussed today. So as we move forward, we'll get more information related to the board.
Thank you.
Also with facilities, we do have our second facility meeting on Wednesday at 6:30 here, phase 2, which we will be reviewing again the LFIs, the local funded initiatives. We will attempt to come down and try to get to a final number for the final bond. We do have to go to the Board of Elections by August 1st to submit the bond. So we need that number relatively soon. So we sent out information to people. I sent personal emails to Clarkwood Association because I went to their meeting and they gave me their email addresses to come to the meeting on Wednesday night, 6:30, right here in this room.
So then the timing on that too is our opportunities are to do resolution. There'll be 2 resolutions we have to do.
Right.
We could do one on June 25th, and then we'd have July. If we delay June 25th, then we'd have to have one in the July work session and then the July regular session in order to get it in on time to the Board of
Elections.
Board of Election. All right, thank you so much. Next on our board agenda is board work session. On June 2nd, this board had its first chat and chew at Warrensville Heights Library. It was an opportunity for the board to actually hear from the stakeholders, the parents, community representatives of what they actually experienced with our district, and to share some of their input of what we may need to change, because we have challenges as a district. We have our highs and we have our lows, but we as a board wanted to hear it, so we had it. I thought it went very well. I know 3 of the board members had took notes. Board Member Elba, I don't have yours, but Board Member Gator, I have your take on it. Vice President Mitchell, I have your take on it. And we didn't have a sign-in sheet, correct? We didn't have a sign-in sheet?
We didn't have a sign-in sheet, but she was taking it.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Did you send that to us, Board Member Elba?
I did not, but I will.
Okay, great.
That information that I asked you for earlier today.
Oh, yeah, I sent it to you, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, I didn't have a chance to put that in
Oh,
there.
no problem, no problem. Yeah, it was only those 2 people, but I would like to hear from the board, and I know I have, and I made copies for all board members, but Board Member Gator, if you just want to brief summarize what you took from June 2nd with the chat and chew. You don't have to go over everything. But.
I mean, I thought it was a great event. We had, roughly
21. I think
21?
I thought it was 20.
That attended. We heard concerns dealing with lunch and recess, security issues. And I think everybody brought their concerns to us in a very respectful way. they were all real concerns, things that, you know, I'm looking forward to sharing with Mr. Jolly and getting some input from him on how, what can be addressed with this upcoming school year. So I'm hoping that we can make it a regular event. I don't think it needs to be done monthly, but I think every other month might be good, maybe quarterly. I mean, we'll have to decide what's going to be beneficial, not just to us, but to the community as well. So, you know, I would really like to see us even target certain groups, you know, invite strictly parents to come, invite the staff to come, invite community members to come, and get specific groups' feedback.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Elba, you want to give your summary?
Ms. Mitchell, go first. I need to get mine up.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have Board Member Mumin. Board Member Mumin, can you just give me your take on how our chat and chew went on that June 2nd?
I thought it went very well. However, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was really a little disappointed because of the fact that there wasn't as many parents there that I would like to have seen. I don't know, is that gonna fall on us? And my point is, how do we reach the parents? Because it is so important that moving forward that we have to get parents involved. The chat and chew is an excellent idea. But the thing is, we got to get the parents, and that's the key. I was happy to see a lot of the staff there voicing their concern. But I don't know what else, I'm trying to figure out some ways that what we can do to just to get the parents involved. If they have some concerns, I hear their concerns. I don't know what's the problem is with the parents not being involved with the school. I want to hear from them as to why aren't they involved. And I know people have to work.
Right.
You know, we all have to work. But you're talking about the livelihood and the education of your child, you know, and we need them to be involved. It's just simple as that. You know, we was ready. I have to say that we was ready for it.
Thank you, Ms. Mumin. Vice President, you want to take your?
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with the comments that everyone has spoken to date. I, though, was very pleased that we had an opportunity to have good one-on-one conversation with the educators that were in attendance. As has been shared, we definitely were able to hear their thoughts, comments about challenges that they're facing in the district. I also found it very encouraging that so many of them are excited and embracing the turnaround that we're seeing this district make. There's been a lot of hard work by Mr. Jolly and his team and the educators that we're very proud of as board members. And we are turning this district around, and it felt good to hear the teachers say that and that they are in support of the work that's being done. I also agree that I wish we could have had more parents there, but I think we're going to have to be very creative in how we reach out to them. We're going to have to meet them where they are.
Correct.
It's a new day. It's not the same day that it was when we were raising our children and attending programs, even when our parents were raising us and attending programs. We have to learn from the parents themselves, the grandparents. We've got grandparents raising a number of children, so we've got to figure out new ways of engaging the community to bring them in. And I think our educators can work with us to help us, because they do have a means to reach the families, and our students can as well.
Thank you, Vice President Mitchell. Board Member Elba?
So let me say this, there were 17 people, and then the 5 of us made it 22.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot of back and forth. I think overall, for that to be our first one, I think it was very well. I would have liked to have seen us as a board solicit more than the last minute that we solicited. I think that, well, I know, I'm not gonna say I think, I know, because I talked to a lot of parents. They would have liked to have seen those flyers go out before school got out, because many people do work first, second, and third shift, I even had the suggestion that maybe we need to consider having two to accommodate people who work second and third shift, have one in the day and then one in the afternoon for the people who work another shift. I know a lot of people were saying that they liked the Tiger Prior way, that they don't like the old Warrensville way that people say. But people did have some things, positive things to say about the district, that they see it trying to improve as what it was. A lot of people talked about how they knew it back then and how we were one of the best school districts there was, and then how we declined and how we're trying to rise. Me personally, I had a huge problem with the bullying, how I had just, prior to our meeting, I had sent the board an email because I ran into a young lady and her daughter at the parade while I was passing out flyers. And the little girl stated she had tried to kill herself 3 times in the school year. And it was very dissaddening to hear that. And then to come to the Chat and Chew and to hear that it happens more often than we know. And that could be a reason why we don't perform well academically. If you're being bullied all day, you can't focus on anything else but being a bully. So my concern was, and I did ask about the program that we voted on and where was it at and how were we utilizing, was it being utilized? And I was deeply concerned that, if you all know, I always ask for data and how things are doing because we're constantly voting on something. For people to not know that we voted on this program that should be utilized in the district that's not being utilized, I had a huge problem with that. I think that we have a long way to go as far as working with the bullying thing. I know that somebody had threw out Cleveland Clinic and everything, but you know, as I was going through these agendas, we vote on Applewood every year. And for people who don't know, that if you have Medicaid or any form of Medicare, that is a free service that does not cost you anything. Doesn't cost the parent or the child anything if they submit the information. So I would suggest, before we go out and have Mr. Jolly and Dr. Rock looking at our finances and looking to see if this is something that we can do, you tap into your free resources. There are so many agencies out here that work with kids with behavior difficulties, parents with behavior concerns more often than we know. And we as African Americans, we cannot be so prideful to not to want to seek the help that we desperately need. So that would be one of my suggestions. I did, some of the things that they talked about was, everybody wanted to be a part of the Warrensville growth. They wanted to make a difference in the city. They were looking forward to the district striving. I know that there was a lot of concerns about Westwood with the lunchtime and two staff for 75 kids, and that's one of the reasons why they're so chaotic over there. And I know, Mr. Jolly, that everybody is going to give you their notes as far as the things that are concerns. I am going to do this. I did not get a chance to do it today. I had a lot going on. But one of the things that they talked about, that possibly having the staff trained, which I thought we did train our staff before they started, but I guess not. But if we don't, my recommendation would be that maybe possibly before we start hiring staff, that we look into some type of orientation for them before they actually hit the floor running. Because just because you have experience in a particular area, you don't have experience at that particular school district.
We just needed a summry. I mean, you don't need.
I'm summarizing, but I need to get this off my chest because
I got you.
I left that meeting, I left it feeling, I felt positive, but I was so hurt because as much as I tell the board about things that I hear and it's blown off that nobody wants to hear, and I'm not labeling anybody in particular, I'm just putting it out there, that when I tell you, nobody wants to hear and they blow it off, but then we hear what I've been telling you all year at a meeting, and now it's an urgency and let's fix the problem. That's where I have the concern at. I do want to let you guys know that I did have 2 staff contact me, and they were very concerned that they felt like they were being targeted because of some comments that they had made at the meeting, and they got back to superiors. I'm just telling you what was said to me. So I'm just letting you guys know.
That's fine.
You know,
Yeah.
so I do hope that, like someone said at the meeting, that their concerns does not fall on deaf ears, and that we as a board, we ensure that things are being done for a successful school year, because we don't want to go into it with the same problems that we had in the following year.
How-
Yes, ma'am.
I just
Go
want
right
to
ahead.
ask her
Go right
something.
ahead.
So
Yes.
when a staff member said that to you, what was your response to them?
I was shocked, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, when did this happen?
I
Now-
have a question. How can we target people and we're not even in school? The staff are not even in school. Pam, y'all not even in school. The meeting happened on the 2nd. How can anybody be targeted?
And
Because
if,
we not in school. So whatever happened at the meeting, the only thing I got from the meeting is these notes, no names.
Right.
How can we target anybody when we're not in school, Ms. Elba?
I'm just telling you the conversations I had.
I need to
So-
comment on it because
you can
this is
comment.
in the community, it's on camera. You're saying we're targeting people who we haven't even been in school.
Okay, I didn't say you were targeted.
So I just wanted to
said
put that out there. Then I
said
want to
that
talk
two
about
staff-
bullying too,
I said
because.
two staff is what I said.
That's fine, that's
Yeah,
fine.
but I want to address it because
Go ahead.
it's in the atmosphere that we're targeting people and we haven't even been in school. We haven't even seen the staff. There's staff working summer school only. We haven't seen no staff members. So I have a problem with people telling you stuff that's untrue.
So would you have preferred me say you're a liar and get off my phone?
No, I prefer you
I mean-
tell me who it is so I can talk to them, so that we can address it. Because I don't like when people put out false information. That's false information. We can't target people, they haven't been in school. Second thing is about the bullying. Bullying happens all over the United States of America. It's every single day people are bullying. Our principals every day deal with bullying. Every single day. Conferences, meetings, continue. The situation that you mentioned, I sent the board some research on that situation. I'm just sharing because every time people come and say stuff, it's not always true. We do things, but then it gets painted in this meeting like we don't do nothing.
Okay.
Like we just letting kids get beat on and slapped on and hit on. That's not the case.
Okay, so let me
So
say
I want to
this.
address
So let
it
me-
because
well,
I
no,
think
let
it's
me say this.
unfair.
Oh, he's almost finished.
I just think it's unfair.
Okay, well, and you know what, Mr. Jolly?
think it's
I'm not
unfair.
saying that you or your staff is lying, but I would never tell a parent, a staff member, that they're a liar too, because that goes back and forth. And if
I'm
this-
not saying they're
if
lying.
this
I'm
is
saying
about-
bring it to the
if-
people
if
that can
this is
solve
about-
it.
If this is about establishing trust,
Mm-hmm.
I will never go back and be like, oh, Ms. Barnes said X, Y, and Z, because then that becomes an issue for Ms. Barnes and her job. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that nobody is doing it. What I can tell you is that at the meeting on Saturday, people were looking at us like they didn't know what I was talking about when I mentioned
I understand
the bullying thing. So regardless of whoever is doing it and whoever is watching, I can tell you what was said. Because like I did mention as we were leaving the meeting on Saturday, to me, it's not important who said it, it's important what was said. And as a board,
Right.
if we're just going to say, oh, okay, thanks, it was a great
Yeah.
meeting, and we're not gonna do anything, and let's keep it moving and see what happens next
No,
year,
that's
that's a
it.
different,
Yeah.
I didn't say that,
I
I
got you.
said if.
No, all right.
But if we are talking about doing this and trying to improve, then we are going, well, I'm gonna bring you mine. I don't know what anybody else have done, but I can bring you the notes that I.
It's in your folder.
So can I say something though? I do want to add. It's not that we welcome information. I take it all the time and try to grow on it. But the way it's presented is in a way that's negative. Like we don't do anything. Like we just sitting here letting people get bullied on. That's the issue I have. And then targeting, I take that very personal because how can we target people who not here? So I think people tell you and others things just to try to rile up
Stir the pot.
negativity. And if people have that feeling, then by all means, Pam Barnes is the union president. She's the vice president of the
Yeah,
OC.
Tony is,
And
they'll address it.
Let's address who targeting people. Because I don't like people feeling targeted because they came to a meeting and said something. Because me personally have no knowledge of who said what. I don't have a clue. I have some cards. I haven't seen nobody in these cards. Haven't even shared the cards with anybody. So when those accusations get put out in the atmosphere, people believe them. They do. So I want to dispute that people got targeted because we haven't been around anybody to target anybody. I just want to dispute it because I don't want anybody believing that, or I want to just put the counter to that because it's not. It didn't happen. So, and I'm willing to address any concern the community got, any parent got, any student got. at any time. I'm not running from anything. I'll face and deal with any situation, but I need to know about it first and then have the opportunity to resolve it.
Okay, so let me say this once again. Nobody is putting negative light on you at all as a person. I'm just telling you what was said. So either you want to hear what I was said and try to act on it, or you want to continue to say it didn't happen and that so-and-so is not telling the truth.
I'm not saying that.
So,
I'm not saying
that's
that.
what I'm saying. Now,
Yeah, but we
as
got
far
other
as-
board members that like to
As
speak
far
too.
as the cards go, everyone who spoke didn't fill out a card. So let's be clear on that.
But I wasn't there.
I didn't say you
So
weren't
I
there.
don't know who
I
said
didn't
what.
say-
Right, right.
I never
My
said
staff
you were.
don't know who said what.
I never
So
said.
when people accuse us for
Well,
targeting,
let's do this,
you
board.
did say it. You said we targeted people
No,
who
I
spoke
said,
to me.
Superintendent
two staff
Jolly.
said that they were targeted
I know,
because
but
they
Board
spoke
Member
at the
Elba, can
meeting.
we have other board members speak?
Oh, you can.
Okay.
But can
All
I
right.
finish my story? Because
No, because you're gonna keep going back and forth. We have other board members that wanna address
Go
it.
ahead.
Vice President Mitchell, you wanted to address
All
it?
I wanted to say is just so that the audience that's here, when the meeting was held, it was a very open and honest and transparent discussion. There were a lot of, very poignant points made. There were times in the meeting that I'm gonna be very honest, we as board members, we don't know what goes on in these schools every day. And that's not, it's our job, but it's not our job, because we've got our educators and we've got Mr. Jolly and his team
Yep.
that are on the ground, in the trenches, doing the work. When it comes to the school board, then we work as a team to rectify whatever is happening. And as a board, we listen to every single thing that was shared. And I have no problem sharing the notes. We came back, Member Gator and I compiled the notes that we took with the things that were said. Nowhere in any of our notes does it say, I think the only thing where I referenced was John Dewey has a roof leak. That was it. Everything is in, I broke it up, and I think in the 5 or 6 themes, and everything falls into a theme. I think Mimi did something very similar, and we sent our notes to the board. I sent mine that next week. So I personally want to speak to the two of you because you were here. We shared no names. Everything was very general, and there were some things that I took specific notes, but nowhere in there was anybody's name targeted. There weren't even any comments that were targeted where Mr. Jolly and his team could say, oh, I know so-and-so said that. We meant it when we said we wanted an open dialogue with the educators. We are sitting here to help turn this district around. It's just as much our responsibility as it is his responsibility, you guys' responsibilities, and these children's responsibilities to work as one unit to do what we need to do to elevate not just the grades, but Pam, you made a perfect point. You talked about how Warrensville used to be when we were growing up. We needed to get back to where it was, because that's the Warrensville that we came out of. That's the Warrensville that you came out of, and that's what we want back. So the only way we can get that is if we work as one team, one vision, one goal, to bring it back to the glory days that it used to be from the time these folks up here graduated, Michelle and my sister graduated, you, Jolly, and the others graduated from this district. I'm so sorry for the emotional.
That's
but
fine, Vice President Mitchell.
I'm tired of the negativity.
I got you. That's no problem. That's no problem. Board, did anybody else want to speak? No. I'm sorry. Board Member Mewman, go right ahead.
Well, I think one of our biggest problems, sometimes we don't follow protocol. If there's a problem in the community or someone brought it to you, you should go straight to your superintendent and discuss it with him. You don't make a negative issue out of something that doesn't necessarily have to be negative. We makes it negative because we just blow stuff all out of proportion. It would have been so easy, Michelle, if you had just went talk to Mr. Jolly. I mean, if it's a trust issue that you have with our superintendent, you need to fix that.
Okay, so let me say this first of all.
Hurry
I'm
up.
really and truly
Go ahead.
tired. I'm really tired of some of you trying to negate what I say. The facts is the facts. Whether you want to hear it or not, this is not about negativity. I'm just telling you what was said. So either you want to hear what was said or you don't. This is nothing personal against Mr.
We wanna
Jolly,
hear it, but we
his
wanna hear
team-
from the source it came
excuse
from.
me, let me finish.
Okay.
This is nothing personal against Mr.
Right, I
Jolly,
got you.
his team, this board, or
Right.
anything. It's just, it is what it is. We all took away something different, and however you want to
Correct.
say it, whether you want to say it or whether you don't want to say it, that's your decision. I chose to wait. I was so angry and happy at the same time when I left there because I could not believe that, first of all, like you talked about the roof. How do we sit around and let a roof leak and be told, well, we're not gonna fix it because we're getting new buildings? Who does that?
That's
Who said that was said?
That's not what they said.
Yes, she did say that.
She did not
Yes,
say
she
that.
did.
She asked the question.
Yes, she
Mr.
did
Boyer,
say that.
even
She asked
with
the
the
question.
roof, we've been
She
working.
did say that.
It's a lot of, it's just two sides to every story. We just wanna just give,
Shh.
right. It's always,
So,
I will never step by and let water come in a building or let a dangerous situation or unhealthy situation exist in our building. I don't care when we're building the buildings, I don't care what it costs. Okay, we'll go through the process we have to keep our scholars safe, our staff safe, and give them an environment that they can teach in.
Mr. Boyd, can I ask you to
while
explain?
Hold on,
I asked for the
because
floor.
I
I
was still
asked for the
talking.
floor.
when I was
Hold on.
talking when you
Mr.
guys
Boyer,
interrupted
can
I
you
don't think he was
please
done. That's why I
explain
wasn't done
what
until-
happens with a roof leak? Would you help everybody understand that just
my
because a
God.
roof leak is fixed in one location, that water, when it is trying to get it, it's gonna continue to keep moving, and it will cause a leak in a new place until it's fixed?
Fix it.
Member Mitchell, thank you.
whatever.
You're absolutely right. Water takes the least path of resistance,
That's right.
okay? Simple science. You stop a leak in one spot, it's gonna try to find another way to get in. And it does. And these buildings are old, the roofs are old. There were, in my opinion, some bad decisions made long in the past with the way that they treated these roofs, with the foam that they put on them, and those kinds of things that compound our problems, okay? But while we every day may have to make decisions about what we're gonna fix and what we're not gonna fix based on the fact that we are building new buildings, and that's a reality. We don't ever make a decision to allow water to come in our buildings where mold could be an issue, where the structure could be damaged and could cause a roof to collapse or any of those things. And in fact, we're looking at doing a roof having a company come in and do another roof analysis to make sure that we're not in a situation where that could possibly happen over the next 4 to 5 years. Okay, and those recommendations that they bring to us, we will follow to make sure that our buildings are safe. All right, we do the same thing with our boilers and our heating systems, our air conditioning systems where we have them, and every other facet of our buildings to make sure that they're safe and that the environment is best we can possibly make it for the scholars. These are old buildings and it's a difficult challenge, but I don't Band-Aid things. When I fix something, I fix it right. And we make a collective decision whether or not we're gonna do certain things because of the new construction. That is a reality. We don't wanna throw good money after bad. But we are not gonna leave any of our scholars in danger or in a bad safety situation or a health situation by not addressing these issues. We can't.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. All right, should be no more discussion. I'm sorry, go right ahead. I can see your hand.
What I'd like to ask from the board, just so the community understands, can we share what the expectations are? We've got these concerns. At what point do we go to Mr. Jolly? How do we communicate this to Mr. Jolly, and at what?
I think, did you send them the email? Did you send
I
him?
copied Mr. Jolly when I sent them to the board so that he would have them, because the agreement at our last meeting was that we would
next month.
provide our notes, and that at our next, in July, at the July
Work
work
session.
session, he would address what was shared via our notes and the public participation cards. So when I didn't pay attention to how you sent yours, if you didn't copy him on the email, then make sure he has your notes. Yeah, I did. I sent to the board.
yes, I do.
Okay, so that's all I wanted communicated was, this is not something that's falling on deaf ears. We are communicating the concerns with Superintendent Jolly, and we'll be bringing it to the next meeting in July.
Correct, July work session, correct.
Hopefully with resolution. So, again, I thought it was a good meeting. I thought we got good feedback, some things to address, but we need to allow Mr. Jolly and his team to address those concerns.
And my last point, I thought it was a good first chat and chew. I mean, it was the first time like Board Member Mumin said, I would prefer to have more parents, and that's something we got to do as a board, and maybe help from our parent liaisons to reach out to them, and like Board Vice President say, maybe we need to go to a different location, or what's convenient, like Board Member Elba said, convenient for the parents, but it's somehow we got to reach them. But if I have a child in a school district, believe me, I'm going to be very concerned to talk to that teacher and to know what's going on in that school. So some of the onus is on those parents too, but I understand the environment we are in, so I understand that part. Like they had said at the meeting, Mr. Jolly's our superintendent. He runs the whole district. Does he run each building? Is he that principal of each building? No, he's not. Can he know what everything go on every hour in a building? He cannot. What he can do is hope his staff would do the best that they can. Each principal runs his building differently. I understand that. I got it from Pam and her employees. I understand that. That's how it's being ran, and I guess it was ran previous too. So we got to get to some way that we can have a collaborative work effort with the whole school district, and we can stay on board and make sure that we having our scholars looked after, recess, lunch, whatever it is. And I'm sure Mr. Jolly will look at it with Dr. Rock and look at the financial piece of it and put it together. But I thought it was the first good meeting. I didn't hear anything negative, but, you know, I'm all about the positive. So, you know, I mean, negative things will come, and we've dealing with them. So we'll address them as a board. But this superintendent, that treasurer, Dr. Rock, and this board will never back away from a challenge, or we will never back away from a upset parent. So we're going to address that and keep it moving. And that's why Pam said the atmosphere of Warrensville Heights City Schools is changing. And I don't hear it just locally. I hear it nationally. I hear it from people like, man, y'all doing great things. You got a great superintendent. That's just not in Ohio. That's California, Texas. That's Washington, D.C. So they're looking at us, and it's a scope. So it's just not local people looking at us. I think the superintendent's doing a great job, and our treasurer's doing a great job. So just keep up what it is. We're going to deal with the negative, but we're going to move on, and we're going to look for a higher power and get through this. So. Next on our board agenda is number 5, our district policies. This is the second reading for those two actual policies. I think we went through those. I didn't get any unfinished from the board. Maybe we'll have some for the 25th. Any unfinished?
No, unfinished for me was just chat and shoot.
All right. Okay. All right. Any new business? I didn't have any of that. Also, board, I want to thank you guys for working with me. I mean, we know Maddie's off until after the 4th of July, and Narcina Jones is doing an excellent job. But she's also helping our assistant superintendent, Dr. Caver, so she's doing the best she can. Dr. Rock, any correspondence?
No, sir.
There is some announcements. Mr. Jolly, did you have any announcements you want to address before I address the one of mine?
No, sir.
There are free summer meals. If anybody know about the families that may need it, I mean, this is a time, especially in the summertime, and some of our scholars don't get a chance to have 3 square meals. So the Eastside Christian Reformed Church on Emory Road, 23600, is feeding scholars Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 2, and that started on June the 5th, and it goes to August the 9th. So they can go over there and get a meal on Tuesday and Thursday. Then the Warrensville branch, the library is feeding our scholars from Monday through Friday from 10:15 to 1:15, and it's already started, so it ends on August the 10th. And then Hoosier Medical is doing the same. They're feeding our scholars if they need a free meal Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So just get the word out. It's a lot of families that need help, and if they need to get a meal, they can go to those 3 sites and get a meal. Yeah, they don't have, it's on the website. Yeah. No, I don't have the end date. I think it would be August, but I'll find out from Kendra, and she can make sure it's on the website. Our next board meeting is June 25th. That'll be our regular board meeting.
I thought we have a special meeting in between there.
We do. We have 2. We actually have evaluations for Superintendent Jolly on June 20th, staff at 6:30 at our board, which everybody agreed to. And we have Treasurer Dr. Rocks on June 28th at the board at 6:30. Everybody got that in their calendar? There's no further business from me. Board, is there any other business before I ask for a motion to adjourn? Board, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting today?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board adjourn our June 11th, 2018 work session meeting.
Do I have a second? Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Gator. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
We are adjourned.